Mr. Farnsworth, charter schools are public schools. Public schools take public money to operate. Why should two schools that take public money to operate under two separate sets of regulations?
Mr. Chairman and Dr. Friese, charter schools are public schools because they provide a public education, not because they're public companies. They're not government companies, they're not government schools. And so the way that they're dealt with, it is completely different. For example, facilities. Why don't charter schools get facilities? Why don't charter schools have taxing authority? Other public schools do. Why do charter school operators have to sign personal guarantees to build public schools? Well, when you answer that question, it's because they are private organizations. I'm not just saying that on my own. Let's look at the statute. In Title 15, 183, subsection B, the sponsor of a charter school, meaning the government body, like the State Board for Charter Schools, may contract with a public body, private person, or private organization for the purpose of establishing a charter school pursuant to this article. Charter schools are private companies, either for-profit or not-for-profit. They are subject to Title, excuse me. They are subject to Title 10, which is the corporation statute. They can have shareholders. They are not government entities, and therefore the way they're treated is completely different than the district schools, which are government entities. The money that is paid to charter schools does come from the state under contract, but it is simply a contract, and charter schools are contractors. And they are treated, or should be treated, like the other contractors in the state. Once they're paid, those funds are no longer public. They transmute to private. Just like you have a road builder, or you have whoever built this building. That wasn't done by the state. The state contracted with someone in the private sector to provide that service. This is a public building built by a private entity. The roads that we drive on are public roads built by private entities, and they're public because they contracted with the state to perform that service. So, in a nutshell, without belaboring it, that's the reason why, is that we're intended to be different, they are different, and this body continues to try to make them the same when they absolutely are not.
As charter schools and receiving public money, you made the parallel to a contractor building a road. Well, those roads have to meet certain standards, and if those standards aren't met, there is some accountability. Should we have charter schools having different levels of accountability to the state money and the state entities giving it money?
Mr. Chairman and Dr. Friese, we do. Charter schools don't get to bond. They don't get to override. They don't get to float warrants. They don't have taxing authority. We do treat them completely different, and they were intended to be completely different. So we do that. The public money that comes, again, is through contract. It doesn't mean that it's a government body any more than everyone in this room gets public dollars. So why don't we have to have an open meeting? Why don't we have to show everything that we do before we spend it on our homes or our groceries or on our gas? Why is that? Because the money that is public that's paid to a private individual transmutes and becomes private money. It's no longer public. Then the requirement is that we perform. And for charter schools, the performance is 99% of the charter schools are under the State Board for Charter Schools, and they do have accountability. They have annual audits. They have performance audits. They go before the board if they are not performing. So if they have a low score on the A through F system, they have to go on account. And if they don't perform, they can be shut down. When was the last time you heard a district school being shut down for non-performance or for fiscal impropriety? You don't, because the standards the standards are different, and the accountability is different. And quite honestly, it's harsher on charter schools than it is on district schools. They can be shut down.